In exchange for the efficiency, you lose autonomy. You can no longer make even basic decisions about your life. Your efficient car tracks your whereabouts. They can turn it off, actually, if they want to.
Ooh.
Now we're learning, to continue the theme, that in Texas, the power companies have automatically raised the temperature of people's thermostats in the middle of a heat wave without their permission. Ooh, that's not creepy or anything. Chuck DeVore is Vice President of the Texas Public Policy Foundation. He joins us tonight to explain. Chuck, great to see you. So I remember when these thermostats were being rolled out, and we were told, no, you're still in charge of, because it's your house, right? You pay the bill for the gas or the electricity, and you decide what the temperature is. It's just for efficiency. But now it turns out they're in control.
Well, they are in control, Tucker, and it's only going to get worse. What's happened in Texas is that they have now seen what Californians have been dealing with for years. And what they do is they entice you with a bit of a rebate or perhaps slightly lower electricity rates. And until it happens the first time, you don't really stop to think, oh, you mean when I come home after picking up the kids at school, the house might be boiling hot? Oh, is that the decision I made? Maybe I didn't want to do that. But here's the problem. The more wind and solar that you put on the grid, the more that this is going to happen, the more the cost differentials are going to expand. And eventually, Tucker, it's going to be mandatory, first in places like California. They're going to make you put in these smart thermostats.
But I mean, Texas has I guess, supposedly Republican governor, 2 Republican senators, and enough energy to be its own country kind of forever. There's a lot of energy in Texas. Why don't they just make more electricity? That seems like an obvious answer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, but here's the challenge. Over the last few years, we've added about 31,000 megawatts of wind and solar, mostly wind, and we've subtracted about 4,000 megawatts of reliable coal and natural gas. Now, why is that? It's because the federal government very heavily subsidizes wind and solar. There's a modest state subsidy for wind, and that's supposed to now lapse in 2022 in Texas. But because of these huge subsidies, the wind power companies can afford to pay the grid to take their power. That happens in 1/3 of the contracts in Texas, which has a free market system. And as a result, investors don't want to build new natural gas plants in Texas. You only see wind and solar being built. And the more that happens, as you see in California, where it's mostly solar and not wind, the more you're going to need these smart thermostats and, Tucker, smart meters. And the scary thing about the smart meters is that they can do real-time pricing. And if you want to, cool your house down to 78 degrees, you're going to have to pay an arm and a leg for it. What we have here is self-righteous coastal elites imposing their version of systemic environmentalism on working class Americans. The elites, of course, can afford it. They can afford it. They can pay whatever they want to for their power. And by the way, they like the cheap power at night because that's when they charge up their Teslas. So this is the future, and I'm afraid that Texans have recently experienced it.
It's amazing.
Wow.
But not surprising. Chuck DeVore, great to see you.